Yeah. Okay. What we're looking at today is factoring quadratic expressions. And so we're going to start with doing something a little bit different. So what I've got up here on the board is a problem you would have seen before. I want you to do what you think you should do with that. Like if this was your problem, what would you do with it? What would you be supposed to do with it? I'm hoping to record it so that I can put it on the agenda so it's there for notes for y'all to review. But I wouldn't mind playing it for next class because I'm kind of struggling. I've done that a few times with 8th period where they get to watch a lesson from earlier in the day. Okay. So thinking through this. There's two words we've used in the past, and some of y'all used one way and some of you used another way. One of them is using what's called the FOIL method. Okay. First. The second way that we learn this is just using distributive property, where we distribute. And that's the one I usually focus on. And so let's talk about how that would look. To distribute or to do the FOIL method, you always start with this first term here, and you multiply it by the first term in the next. Okay, so 1x times 2x. 1 times 2 is 2. X times x is x squared. Hey, y'all, let's cut out the side conversations, please. Let's cut out the side conversations, please. The next is you take these two, which are the outer two, so you're still working with this x, so multiplying it by this last one here. So x times negative 3 is a minus 3x.
What you doing? Go back.
Right. If I'm going to go back, then I need you focusing up here the entire time. No more distractions, okay? All right, I'm not going to stop and go back. Okay, I'm taking this first term and I'm multiplying it by the 2x, which gives me this, then multiplying it by the negative 3, which gives me this. So x times negative 3 is negative 3x.
So,
X times 2x is 2x squared.
what? You just multiply.
Yeah, when you do x times x, you get x to the second power, which is x squared. Okay, so I multiplied the first term times both. Now move to the second term. 2 times 2x is 4x. And then the 2 I'm going to take times the negative 3, which is negative 6. So that's the distributive piece. There's one more step within this, and that's to combine those like terms in the middle. So 2x squared. Yeah, negative 3x plus 4x is a positive 1x, or just plus x. And I bring down to minus 6. So if I have this, and I'm told to multiply or simplify, it gets down to this piece here. Okay? What we're doing today with factoring is we're going the other direction. We're starting with this quadratic, and we're going backwards to this. We're factoring. So instead of multiplying, we're dividing. It's kind of what the process is. Okay? And so that's the way that we're going to go about some things today. All right? So to do that, we're going to take you through a method to kind of organize your thought, the math thoughts process, called the box method. So I talked to a few people in the class earlier. I think if you had maybe Miss Parsons in 9th grade, you probably learned the box method. If you had Miss Goodman, you probably didn't. If you had Miss Goodwin, I'm not sure. But if you recognize it, great. If not, there's also Miss Ratliff, I think. Yeah. I think that's something different, but it may be. So just kind of watch, okay? The method, it's a few steps, but the process is easy math. And so it's just kind of a way to organize. So we're going to all kind of focus. Okay? So we're going to start. So this is the problem we're going to do to start with. There we go. Okay, John, I would much prefer you kind of turning where you're facing this way, because you seem to really get involved with that table behind you too much the way you sit. You do every day, so I don't know why you're saying you won't now. Okay. All right. So the step process here. So everybody get the problem written down, and then we'll kind of go through each step. Hopefully we'll get about 3 or 4 problems done today. We'll do a couple more tomorrow with y'all, some kind of self-work time. And then on Thursday, you'll actually do the assignment during class time, and it'll be due Friday when you come to class. So I'll give you the assignment tomorrow, but you will have Thursday in class to work on. All right, so first thing is we're going to start out by drawing a box. And within that box, we're going to draw it into 4 equal boxes. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully a few of y'all will start to recognize this, but even if you recognize it, make sure you're paying attention so you don't miss the steps, okay? And this is just called the box method for factoring trinomials. All right. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take the very first term, the 3x squared, and you're going to put it inside the first box. So 3x to the second power is going to go inside that first box. Okay. Then you're going to take the last term, the 5, and you're going to put it in the last box. You're good. Okay. Then you're going to come out to the side over here, and you're going to multiply those 2 terms together. 3x squared times 5. 3 times 5 is 15, and you still have the x squared with it. Okay. So that's the next step. So you're going to take the 2 terms you just put in the box, kind of go out to the side, you're going to multiply them together. Now, because I feel like I have to say this every single time, that squared right here is not with the 15. Yeah, do not multiply 15 times 15 or 15 to the second power. The squared is only with the x. Okay? So this is kind of a reminder. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to factor 15x squared. So a couple of things real quickly is the x squared is just going to factor into x and x. X times x is x to the second power. So both sides are going to have an x with it. So the factors of 15, you got 1 and 15, so 1x and 15x. Or you have 3x and 5x. Okay. Now, when we first started this factoring stuff last week, one of the first things we did is we found the factor pairs and then we added those factor pairs together. Okay? So if I add these together, I get 16x and I get 8x. What I want is for this sum over here to equal up to this middle term, the negative 16x. But all I've got is positives. But y'all remember the other thing we talked about last week? You can change them both to negatives because a negative times a negative is also a negative, or negative plus a negative. So, yeah, if I do negative 1 and negative 15x, I get negative 16x. And so I don't have to do the negative 3x and negative 5x because it's not necessary. All right. So what I found was that the factors of negative 1x and negative 15x multiply together to give me 15x squared, and they add together to get me the negative 16x, which is my middle term. Those 2 terms, the negative 1x and the negative 15x, are what go in your other 2 boxes. And it doesn't matter which one they go in. So I'm going to put it here and here. Okay, if you put yours in the other box, the negative 1x up at the top, the negative 15x at the bottom, that's fine. It's just going to flip one thing, but I'll show you how that looks in just a second. Okay, so we've got the box filled out. Now's where we start kind of the factoring to find out what the factors are. Yeah, you'll work them out on the left side and on the top. So what I want to do is I want to find the greatest common factor of each row and of each column. So let's just start at this bottom row. What common factors does negative 1x and positive 5 have? Yeah, the only factor they have in common is a 1. But we're going to put them over here. So whatever is with the x, that sign is what's going to stay with it. So instead of 1, we're going to leave it with negative 1. So just going to write it out to the left side. Then that's next up here. The first row. 3x squared and negative 15x. What do they have in common?
No, 3.
Yeah, the 3 and the 15 have a 3 in common because they both are divisible by 3. And they both have an x. Okay, I'm going to make this positive because the one closest to it right here is going to be the positive. So I'll pull out the 3x. Okay, so I found the common factors of both rows. Now we're going to do the same thing with the columns. So in this first column, 3x squared and negative 1x, the only thing they have in common is the 1x. Okay, and it's going to stay positive because the 3x squared is the closest to it. Okay, and then here, the negative 15x and the positive 5. Yeah, 5, but we're going to put it as negative 5 because of the 15 being negative. Well, no, it's actually the greatest power of x. So this was an x to the first, and when the x isn't there, that's an x to the 0. So this one's a bigger power. Just like this one, there's a 2. This is an x to the first. So this is the power, the 1, so they're both positive. Right. Okay. So what are my factors of this quadratic? Look down my side here, 3x minus 1. That's in my first set of parentheses. My second set of parentheses is x minus 5. So there's my solution. Okay. Now, I can take you through a totally different way of doing this that doesn't involve memorizing this box method, but you're going to have to use a whole lot more math, and it's going to take up a lot more work. So this is the quickest and easiest way to do it. So your best bet is just as we're going through these, memorize how we're doing it. Okay? I'll do that with you after school. Now, if you had put the negative 1x and the negative 15x in those opposite spots, you may have had this instead. The x minus 5, 3x minus 5. Oh, sorry, 3x minus 1. But as long as the parentheses are the same, it doesn't matter which order they're in. So it's 3x minus 1, there's a 3x minus 1. X minus 5, x minus 5. So flip-flop is fine as long as they're both sets of parentheses are there. All right, y'all, let's keep our phones put up again for a couple of you. All right. So what I want you to do is start this one. Get your box drawn and put the correct numbers into the box. So the first two boxes are filled in. Okay, what was the next step? Multiply those two terms together. So x squared times 32 is 32x squared. Okay. Next step, factor the 32x squared, and we want the factors to add up to 12x. Okay. And so since everything's in positive, then we're just going to stay with the positive factors. So x and 32x. What number? This right here? Yeah, I haven't got to there yet. Okay. So keep factoring 32. 2x will go into that, and that'll go in there 16x times. 3x will not work. 4x goes to 8x. 5x doesn't work. 6x doesn't work. 7x doesn't work. And then I'm back over here. Y'all please stop the conversations. Okay, so if I add these up, I get 33x. I get 18x. And I get 12x. Okay, so which one am I needing? I need the 12x. So that means I need these bottom two. So the 4x and the 8x are what's going to go in the other two boxes. So this is where those other two boxes get filled in. Okay. So now if we factor, looking at this here, x squared and 4x, the only thing those two have in common is x. Okay, the 8x and the 32. What factor of 8 is also a factor of 32? 4 is, but 8 is also, because 8 goes into 32. So 8 will be my common factor there. Now, if you'd have put the 4x here, then instead of 8 being that common factor, it would have been 4, which is what the common factor is right here. Yeah. And then these two is just an x. Now the only thing that'll be different is if you switch these two, then this 4 and this 8 are also going to get switched. But it's going to be the same process. Okay, so my factor is x plus 8, x plus 4. All right. Here, sorry. The next one I want you to do is that 4x squared minus 4x minus 15. So I'm gonna give y'all a couple of minutes to see what you can do with it, and then we'll work through it together before class ends. It's not a page; it's this one problem.
Somebody in the room.
fellas. I want y'all trying to work this problem on your own. They got skills.
You got skills. That ain't taking it.
See what's left. Okay, so there's. Hey y'all, let's see if we can get the box filled in from what you got here. Go. Let's look at this for a lot of us that haven't done much. Some of y'all done a lot. Okay, first box. 4x to the second power. Okay, quiet please. Hey y'all, let's face this direction. Face this direction. Stop talking to each other, please. Last box is negative 15. And so then we'll multiply those two together. So 4 times negative 15 is negative 60. And then the x squared. Okay. Now here's the difference on this one. I have my factor, my number over here is a negative, which means one of my factors has to be positive and one of them has to be negative. Okay. So what do my factors need to add up to? Negative 4. So when I add two numbers and one of them's positive and one of them's negative, for it to be a negative answer, the bigger number has to be negative. So when I do my factors, like my first one is just x and 60x, we're going to make the bigger of the two factors negative because when I add them, my sum needs to be a negative. Okay? 2x goes with negative 30x. 3x goes with negative 20x. 4x goes with negative 15x. 5x goes with negative 12x. 6x goes with negative 10x. And those two work because you add those together, you get negative 4x. Yeah, there's a bunch of this one. Okay, so these are the two that I want to put in my other boxes. The 6x and the negative 10x. And then this again where I go through and I look at the common factors, the greatest common factor of each row and each column. Right here, 6x and the negative 15. The 15 doesn't have an x, but there's a 3 as a factor of both. So, and since the x is the positive one, okay, now look at this top row. 4x to the second power. No, this will woke him up. Alright, 4x squared and negative 10x. Yeah, they both have an x, and then 4 and negative 10 have a common factor of 6. Okay. So real quickly, if I want to go ahead and do this, one of my factors is going to be 2x plus 3. Now, the columns, 4x squared and 6x, again, is going to be 2x, because 4 and 6 have a common factor of 2. And then x squared and x have an x. And then negative 10x and negative 15 is a minus 5, negative 5. So our other factor is 2x minus 5. All right. We will pretty much stop right there for today. You got a few minutes that you can kind of hang out as long as you don't get up and be loud. What we'll do is tomorrow we'll come in. We're going to do probably 3 or 4 more of these. And then we'll have that assignment that I'll give you tomorrow, but you'll have time in class to work on it on Thursday.